Have you ever come across a situation where you've said something in a conversation and even though you did not intend to come across as rude, the other person got offended? Well, I believe that you've made some conversation mistakes. In fact, you've come up with some conversation mistakes that have made you sound rude, and you are not even aware of what these conversation mistakes are. Believe me, if you want to be a good communicator, you have to steer away from these 8 conversation mistakes. So let's have a look at what they are. The first conversation mistake that most people make is trying to prove that they are right. You know, when you're in a conversation about something, when you are giving your opinion, we have this crazy need to always show that we are right and the other person is wrong. So what do we say? We say, "You're mistaken. Here's why." And we go on to launch into a great explanation of why you're the one who is right. Not necessary. Don't say that. This is a negative word when you say you're mistaken. Some people say, "You just don't understand." Again, you are belittling the other person. You are talking down to them. This again is a red flag in a conversation meant to offend other people. Or you may say, "You'll see that I'm right eventually." Here you're almost challenging them that they are going to be wrong and you're going to be right. Is that a friendly conversation? Well, it definitely does not lead to friendships or forging a great bond. And that is why this also sounds rude. And there are some others who say, "Believe me, I know more about this than you do." Now, you may be an expert, I'm not saying you're not, but if you use these expressions, well, it shows that you are trying a little too hard to prove that you are right, and you shouldn't do that. Anyway, before we go to the next part of the lesson, I want to show you something very interesting. We have come up with a smartly designed English fluency course designed for all of you. Why? Because we want to help you speak English naturally. As the name suggests, this course is divided into 3 parts and it is meant for the sole purpose of helping you speak naturally, like a native English speaker, by helping you get the best English phrases at the C1 level. Now, what do these phrases do? They help you speak natural English, not textbookish English. They help you speak English in a way that native English speakers do. And this course is divided into 3 parts. As you can see, 2 courses or 2 parts of this course are done by my fellow trainers Niharika and Christine, and the 3rd part of the course is curated by myself. And to get more information about this, I would suggest you click onto the link in the description of this video. Believe me, this is one of the best courses out there. We have a total of 450 smart English phrases at the C1 level to help you speak naturally. Okay, so go ahead and get more information about this course by clicking onto the link in the description of this video. Anyway, back to the conversation mistakes. Well, let's see what other conversation mistakes you make. The second mistake you probably make is story topping. Now, what does this really mean when I say story topping? Okay, everybody has a story. When we have conversations with people, I tell you what happened to me, you tell me what happened to you, and we discuss our experiences, right? But if you don't pay attention to other people's experiences and you want to put your experiences first without listening to them, that sounds very rude. And therefore, you probably say some of these expressions. You probably say some of these sentences. Your story is nothing compared to what I went through. You see, the word I, it's overly focused on you. In a conversation, if you focus on what you went through and do not pay attention to other people's experiences, well, that's story topping. You are being rude. Or you could say, "I had a similar experience, but let me tell you how mine was even crazier." Well, why do you need to say that? You had an experience, but it's time to listen to the other person. Don't story top. Don't even say something like this. "That's okay, but did you hear about this time when I did something?" Don't get into your story. Listen to other people instead. Anyway, the third conversation mistake that we do which makes us sound rude is interrupting. Now, all of us have something important to say, but some of us have a little less manners. We tend to interrupt people when they are talking. What do we say? What does interruption look like? Well, you may say something like this. You may say, that's hardly relevant. Let me tell you what really matters. So someone's saying something, and instead of hearing them out, you just barge in and say something like this. Not a good thing to do. It's very rude. Some people say something like, enough of this, let's talk about, and then you get into your own conversation without even hearing what the other person said. Some people may say, I don't really have time for this, let's just cut to the chase. A lot of times when we are in a conversation, we are pressed for time, we are busy, but we don't think about the fact that somebody else has to finish what they have to say, and we interrupt them by saying this. Do you say these things? Well, you want to check yourself because these are conversation mistakes. The other conversation mistake is being a know-it-all. Now, it's great to have expertise about something, but if you act like you know more than the other person, well, that's not good. Here's what you would say if you are acting like a know-it-all in conversations. You may say, I hate to break it to you, but you're completely wrong. Or you may say, I don't mean to brag, but I'm always right when it comes to these things. Well, guess what? You're saying you don't mean to brag, but you're doing exactly that. You are bragging, so don't say that. You can also say, it's clear that you don't understand the subject as well as I do. Can you see? You're acting like you know way too much than the other person, which puts the other person down. Not a good idea. That is a conversation mistake right there. We have another conversation mistake, which is unsolicited advice. Okay? Unsolicited means advice which is not asked. No one has required you to give that advice. No one's offered to ask you. So why are you giving advice? Well, here's what you would say if you are someone who does this. You would say, I know what's best for you, so listen. Well, believe me, only the person who is going through a situation knows what's best for them. So if you're going to say this, that's not a good thing. You would also say, let me tell you how to handle this. Okay, again, you're giving advice when it's not asked. Or you would say, I know how to fix this for you. Just go ahead and do this. Now, I know you probably mean well, like a lot of us want to fix problems for other people, but when you go about just saying it in a very abrupt way, it might come across as giving advice which is not asked for, which is unsolicited. Or you may say, what I think you should do is, okay, well, you think someone should do something based on your thinking, based on your perspective, but it's good to always listen to what they're going through before giving your advice. Okay, let's look at another mistake that we make, which is asking personal questions. Now, let me tell you that if you are someone who asks personal questions, people are not going to like you. They're going to be extremely offended. Some personal questions are, how much do you make? Well, that's none of your business, so you shouldn't ask that. Don't you want kids or don't you want to settle down anytime soon? Well, a lot of people tend to ask that in conversations. Again, that's a huge no-no. Don't do that. Some people say, how come you've become so fat or how come you've become so skinny? Again, commenting on people's personal or physical appearances is not something you want to do. Take it out of your conversation. And then, why don't you switch your job? Again, you don't know why a person is working a certain job. They could have financial reasons, they could have other reasons. It's really not your place to be asking these questions. So don't ask personal questions. Let's look at another conversation mistake, which is being hyper ready to give an answer. Now, I think it's great to give answers, but don't give an answer only because you like to hear the sound of your voice. Are you someone who likes to talk more and listen less? Well, in that case, you may be somebody who doesn't listen to understand others. You listen only to give your answer. You like the sound of your voice. You're not interested in what other people have to say. Or, like I said, you just love to hear yourself talk. Some people love their own voice and they're sort of self-obsessed, so they want to only give answers without understanding what the other person says. Or sometimes you don't let the speaker finish their idea. Okay, let somebody finish, let them get done with what they have said, only then you can give your answer. So don't interrupt the speaker. And last of all, because of these reasons, you show lack of empathy. You don't really care about the person's situation and you come across as someone who is very rude. So you want to check yourself and ask yourself, am I somebody who is hyper ready to give an answer? Okay. Anyway, our last conversation mistake, which makes us sound rude, is feeling or showing that you are disengaged in your body language. Now, engaging with people is being one with them, having a great interaction with them. The opposite is being disengaged. So there is something in your body language which shows that you are disengaged. What is that? Let's take a look. Poor eye contact. Well, you're having a conversation with someone, but you're barely looking at them. You're not looking at them in the eye. That's not good. Or you're constantly checking your phone. Well, everyone does this, right? It's called phubbing these days. Someone's talking to you and you're on your phone. You don't want to do that because that shows that you are really rude and you are not invested in the conversation. Some people, their body is turned away from the speaker. Now, let me tell you that when you are in the conversation with the speaker, you are supposed to be aligned. Your body is supposed to kind of be aligned toward them. But if you are someone who is rude or unintentionally being rude, your body sort of is not aligned to the person you are speaking with and it's turned away from them, which is not a good thing to do. You want to show that you are engaged in that conversation. And of course, last of all, you look over the speaker's shoulder. You seem like you're in a hurry, you're always looking somewhere else. You're not looking at the person while you're speaking, you're looking over their shoulder, like as if something else is more important than the person and the conversation you're engaging in. Well, these are the 8 conversation mistakes that you're probably making, which is definitely enabling you to sound rude. So make sure you stay away from them, you steer away from them, because these are red flags that will not allow you to forge great relationships either with your work colleagues or in a social setting. All right, I'll see you soon with some more lessons. Until then, this is me saying keep practicing and keep getting great at communication. Take care.